Hello, welcome to Sketchyville. We recently released this adorable little Santa ornament in the store for Christmas, but it's unfinished, so you have to paint it or decorate it however you like to finish it off. So today I thought I'd show you how I finished the sample that you see on the website. When the laser cuts and engraves wood, it produces a char on it, and sometimes even a sticky residue from the sap that gets boiled out of the wood basically as it's cutting. Now, we clean them off before we ship them to you, but there's usually still a little bit left on it when you get them. So because of that, we include this little piece of magic sponge eraser with your piece so that you can clean it off at home. Use it dry to go around the edges to get any char off of there, and if you have any sticky areas, spray some alcohol on the wood piece or on the sponge and scrub it off. To finish prepping your ornament, if you think it needs it, go ahead and give it a light sanding with 180 grit or higher sandpaper, just a little bit to smooth it down. Once you've got your ornament sanded, you can go ahead and seal it if you like with a matte or a satin sealer. The benefits to sealing it at this stage is that it will prevent any paint or markers that you use on the wood from bleeding. I didn't seal mine, and you're going to see what happens when I start filling in the engraved lines. A super easy way to paint the lines on your ornament is with the precision tip bottle that's included in the kit. Just fill it up about halfway with any acrylic paint and then fill it up the rest of the way with tap water. Put the cap on it. That's very important. Put the cap on it and then shake the crap out of it. Make sure it's mixed really good and you can start filling in those lines. Now, if you don't use all the paint that you've mixed up on your project, just put the silicone top on it and store it. The silicone seal makes sure it's not going to dry out. A tip for filling in the engraving using this method is to not let the point of the applicator bottle touch the bottom of the engraving. The laser, when it engraves, leaves ridges as it passes over that area. So if you're touching the bottom, your tip is dragging over these rough spots and you're just not going to have very good control. Instead, just kind of use the edge of the engraving as a guide as you slowly squeeze in your paint. Also, just a word of warning. If a bubble starts to form, for the love of all things holy, stop what you are doing. Squeeze the bubble out onto some paper towel or scrap paper nearby, but don't continue to paint. If you do, you are going to make a mess that will cause you to cuss and potentially throw things. Just trust me on this one, okay? So, if you didn't seal your project at the beginning and your paint bled all over, or if you had a bubble and it popped, don't worry. Just give your project a good sanding and most of those mistakes are just going to disappear. Now, when I sanded, I actually left a little bit of that bleeding paint on there because I was kind of going for a rustic look and I just thought that added to it. To paint the white part, I used a watered down acrylic paint. Now, you don't have to water your paint down, but I wanted it to be a little bit translucent so that the wood grain didn't get lost under the paint. I'm being somewhat careful as I paint around the edges of my piece because if you get the paint down into that engraved groove, it's nearly impossible to get it back out and you'll end up having to repaint it. To finish the red for Santa's suit, I wanted to show you that you really can use pretty much anything you have in your house. This is a fancy koi marker that I'm using, but a Crayola marker or a Sharpie marker would work just as well for this. Heck, you could probably even use a gel pen if you wanted to. Now, this next step is totally optional, but if you want to personalize your ornament even more, don't forget the back. I'm making this for a little one who was born this year, so I just wanted to put the year on the back so her family would know, years from now when this was actually gifted to them. You can do anything you want back there. You can paint it, you can write a note, but make it your own. Make it special. So for what I did, I just used a pencil to mark a guideline and then wrote the year in with a Pigma marker. And then when I was done, I erased the guideline. If you are going to top coat your project, something to think about is what you use to color in your ornament. Now, if you painted it with an acrylic paint, you're good. You can top coat it with just about anything. But if you used water-based markers like I did, a water-based top coat is going to make it bleed. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use a water-based top coat. You just have to be really careful when you're applying it. If you used alcohol-based markers like Sharpies or Coptic markers, be careful when you're using a solvent-based top coat because it, again, may make them bleed. So just think about that when you're finishing your project. Once your project's dry, don't forget to add a cute little hanger. And if you're having trouble threading whatever you're using through the hole, just put a little glue on one end and roll it between your fingers to bring it to a point. Thread it through the hole, cut off the glued area, and then tie it in a knot. All in all, this project took me about a half an hour to do, not including drying time. So it's a really quick and easy way to give someone a custom handmade gift for the holidays. If you'd like to order one of these ornaments, there's a link in the description box below, along with all of the supplies I use to make my ornament that aren't included in the kit. Thanks for visiting Sketchyville. We hope you'll come back soon.